Is we're moulding some timber panels to 2 truck doors. So the first one is the right hand door. We put an infill panel in here flush, so when we vacuum seal the ply down it doesn't suck in and become out of shape with this open area. These other holes obviously small enough that that's not going to be affected. We're looking at either using three sheets of ply and then a crown cut oak sheet on top. So we'll just have a trial run. We're putting a bag over this ply in there and vacuuming sealing it so it'll pull down to the shape. Alright, this is our door panel. I've been asked by a client. This is an old truck door. I'm not sure what the exact truck is, but door panel, looking at doing timber inset panels on the inside door, and we're doing that up in 3 laminated ply sheets, and then at top panel in crown cut American oak. The door's got some shape to it, slight shape, not over shaped. We've dry cut panels, and they're slightly oversized. So what we're going to do, this is our base layer. We're going to have a blue layer, second layer, blue layer, third layer, blue, and then we've got our crown cut oak top. And then that'll be vacuum bagged down to contort to the shape of the door. So we'll have a full bag and we'll suck that down and leave that under vacuum for 12 hours, and then we'll have our panel. So veneer's last sheet, set that to the side. Layer and bottom layer. So they're all ready, marked up, ready to go. Panel we'll take next door and we'll bag up. So bring this through. trick with mixing is mix to where you think it's right and then mix again. Yes, also the truck doors. We've got stage 2 of this. The first stage we made up these door panels. You can see quite a bit of curvature and shape in the door, but it's too thick for the client's liking. So these are getting remade in a much thinner dimension, but not all's lost. I think this was a 12mm lamination, so we're now working on a 6mm lamination. So I think a 6mm, that's 4 lots of 1.5 with a 0.5mm veneer finish on top. I think if we vacuum sealed them to the door, being so thin, I think it would pick up too much shape and pick up imperfections and other aspects of the door. So these will come in handy because we'll be using these as the template. So we can laminate up the thinner door frame on this and use this as our main frame. So got that to do over the coming weeks or this weekend. just turn the vacuums off. These have been under vacuum for 12 hours. Following day, we did have an issue with this one. We had a whole little tear in the bag, and this wasn't pulling down properly, and we started to get a few little buckles in the veneer. So we'll see how that's come up today, but we'll pop these out and have a look. It's held its shape pretty well. A little bit of lifting of the grain just in a few spots where I think hasn't pulled down perfectly. Look at the other one. Yeah, so we've got a little bit of lifting of the grain in a few spots. The veneer has not pulled down perfectly. I think sanding that will sand through the veneer. It's only 1/2 mm thick, so that's not going to work. I think taking this skin off is not really an option either. It's obviously it's glued. So I think what we'll end up doing is we'll sand these points out, and then we'll be putting a new veneer over the top. That first veneer we had paved much better. That was from a different supplier. Both crown cut, both had the vinyl wrap on the back. Gluing conditions were slightly different. I think obviously cooler weather, we're now into winter. I think with the 2 Festool vacs going overnight, it felt quite warm in here when I came in this morning. So I don't think temperature was an issue. Possibly taping the sides might have added some resistance with the ply wanting to spread out. I know with this one, we had that vacuum or the hole in the bag, and probably an hour in, I'd checked, and we'd had a peek through here. So I initially thought that was tape. We took it out of the bag, took the tape off, re-vacuumed it, and it just wasn't pulling down as tight. The puckers you get in the bag, weren't as tight as that one. But then we've worked out there was a slight tear in the bag. Fixed that, and that pulled down nicely. But maybe rolling the veneer might have also been a factor where maybe also gluing both surfaces of the veneer, or the veneer and the ply layer. I think the main ply lam looks like, that's all looks like it's much thicker. It can't really pucker. It's that 0.5 layer that's its thing. So this one's done the same. I've got a little bit through there. Let's grab a pencil and mark them up. So I think there's on there. A little sort of bit there. Yes, I don't think that's salvageable with the upper layer. I think even opening this up and putting some more glue in there I think that's still going to be. You're gonna. I don't think you're going to fix that, especially with the sort of higher peaks there. Sanding it out. And the glue's dried in behind it and holding it up, so I think there's not an option of opening that up and re-gluing. I think our next step is to clean these up, open them up, fill the low spots, get a nice substrate again, and then we'll have another veneer up on top. So it's not a vacuum issue, it's happened to both. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. We'll give that a go with the sanding up and just see how that goes, and then we can make a decision on whether we start completely again, or we can use these substrates for new veneers. Just grab a sander and we'll just have a bit of a look at that. This is really bubbled up, so just going to take a bit more aggressive here and take out the high spots. Alright, so I'll mix up some epoxy, and we'll run some epoxy over these areas, which will give us a base for our epoxy filler, and it'll also lift the grain if there's any unsecured soft spots, and we can re-sand and get a good edge, good surface. So I'll mix up some epoxy and we'll run that. Just floating this so it can float in under the edge, and then we'll end up mixing up a 2-pack, alright, an epoxy filler with the same compatible material with the fibres in it, and then we can let that harden off. A bit unfortunate, but I think we can work with what we've got there, and we're just looking at another veneer top rather than having to re-laminate up the 4 1.5 sections. So we'll see how we go with that. All right, we're mixing up our epoxy paste to fill the truck door divots. And get that back to, we can fair that out, get it back to a nice smooth surface. Head next door. So I think it's more like a paste now. Let's see that. All right, that's our filling, first fill. We'll give that a sand in the morning when it's hard, and then we might do another final fill. All right, welcome back. Just having a look at the door panels. We've got a next fill on these areas, so just going to sand them with Addy grit and a hand block, try and keep the shape intact. Set that up, we'll have a look. Okay, weather's a bit cold, so we're just got some hot water in here, and with the 2-packs epoxy glue, we're just transferring some heat through the glue. I've mixed it up, 5:1 ratio, and we're just warming it. So it's going to make it a little bit more pliable. Put it on both skins, and we'll do our thing. Alright, welcome back. So this next attempt has also had some issues. Got some bubbles, you can probably make them out. You look along there, most of it's been pretty good. Raised grain in a few areas. So that area there. Alright, we've filled those little bubble areas again, ground them back, and some epoxy resin with filler in those areas. They can be sanded off tomorrow, and we can have our fourth go at this. So hopefully, I think the next time we might set up the bottom jig, and we might might do one at a time with 2 vacuums and 2 suction ports, and really try and pull that down. Thanks for watching. Yeah, so we're just finishing off our last truck door. If you want to come through, I'll show you. We've got this under vacuum, so the bag, really good pressure. We've got the Festool vac in there, which is getting rid of most of the air, and then we've got a vacuum pump and another vacuum pump on 2 corners that are more slow and powerful, and they're pulling out extra bit of air and sort of really pulling it down. And then we've sealed up all penetrations where we're bringing in those 3 sources. But I'll just turn this off. You can see when you turn the vacuum off, straight away you start, it can pull up, and these these 2 little pumps, as strong as they are, they don't move great volume, but they are very strong and move small amounts. So with the vacuum doing, the big volume but not extra pressure, the small guys can really pull that down. I'll turn those two off. And then we'll undo this package. Yeah, so this has been a learning experience. There's two doors on a truck, an old truck that a client's doing up, and this is the fourth go we've had getting this right, and we've now I think succeeded. We'll see when we take this out, but the other one worked out very well. Ironically, the first one we did was on the actual truck door, and I think that helped. So I think the truck door enabled, better air circulation to be pulled away from the door, and I think also we had the vacuum pump on, which we didn't do with other stages. We just tried it with just the main festival vac. So a learning curve, and in this one we've also put a cover sheet on, which I think 1.5 cover, which has got the I'll pull it out and show you, but it means that was getting pulled down onto the 1/2 mil veneer, which I think did the trick. The bags we use, we're just using extractor bags for our dust collector, which are they're not lightweight as a garbage bag, but they're sort of that next sort of level up. Yeah, but they seem to do the job. So that's our cover piece. So we've just wrapped that in cling wrap or packaging wrap that we wrap pellets in, and that's a 1.5 veneer, which is what the 4 of those make up the main press, and then we've got 0.5 on the top. But that's been a big game changer, working out that's required. It should have, makes perfect sense, but it's obviously sits over and it's pushing down and helping hold that 0.5 mil or 1/2 mil veneer to the substrate. So I'll pop that out of the way. So I think now when you look at that, you get the light in it, but we've got no bubbles. It's all perfectly adhered and looking very good. So that's a great success. The initial ones, and I think we've talked about it before, but that was laminated up in, I think they were 3 mil pieces, so 4 at 3 mils, 12, and then a half on top. So that's 12 and a half, and that came up really well. I think that might have been beginner's luck on the first 2 doors, but unfortunately it was too thick for the client. It could work and it could have fitted on the door, but we hadn't really delved into the thickness options that they were going to be happy with. So that's another lesson to clarify your brief and make sure everyone's on the same page, over communicate. But it's been, I think we did work out too that this was not all lost. I think if we'd laminated up the smaller 1.5s onto the original door, I think the metal door, the old school metal door, and probably modern doors too, you have a lot of undulations and pockets and areas that are machined and bent and give the door structure. I think on a smaller veneer laminate up with that vacuum, we would have pulled into a lot of those crevices, which would have distorted the overall door shape. So I think either way, we would have had to form a main form. We wouldn't have obviously needed the extra expense and such a beautiful finish with the veneer on top, but we could have laminated up 4 bits of 3mm and created a blank to then do the final thinner version on. So it's worked well. I think these initial panels can be kept if I think there might talk of maybe potentially doing another truck. So these can be, ready to go for future markups. So these 2 doors now, we've got I think that's a left door, and then we've got the right door. So that they sit. That's your door panel, your winder, and then your window of the door you're looking at. These now need to be shaped, so we've got to cut out to the. We've got the original sample doors here off another truck that we can template, and then we can cut this and dress up the edges, and then we'll take them back to our client. They're going to dry fit them, and then they could be, the cutouts can be done for the winders and handles and other aspects. And then once all that's done, this can have a fine sand and be stained and lacquered and put back in place. So I think our end for the moment, we've just got the final cut up and edge trim, and then we're done. So it's been an interesting project, and I think like all projects, you're always learning, and I think it's just finding solutions to problems. And fourth go, we worked it out. Thanks for watching.